Hi guys, this is Steffen, poker coach and founder of BecomeAnOnlinePokerPro.com. Welcome back to episode 23 of the Bankroll building experiment. This is the YouTube series where I abandon the games I usually play at No Limit 100 to show you guys exactly what it takes to build a bankroll from scratch in 2013. And here on the screen you can see my results since the latest video. We're up like $100, which is not a lot, but you know, it's not bad either. And the bankroll is currently sitting at 1700, and now, considering we're playing No Limit 50, we're like 6 buy-ins away from actually moving up, or I guess taking a shot at No Limit 100 and reaching our $2,000 goal for this series. So we're pretty close now. And I've been playing 5,500 hands since the latest video. Not a lot, but considering the volume I've been putting in here in the summer months, I'd say it's accepted. I still want to put in more volume, you know, slowly work my way back up to playing, you know, a few thousand hands a day or maybe more. But for now I'm pretty satisfied. Yeah. And you know, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. The bankroll is 1700 now. You know, originally the plan was to stop this bankroll building experiment at No Limit 50. But you know, when we got there, it was like, let's just take it all the way to No Limit 100 and you know, show you guys how it's done. The reason that I originally wanted to stop at No Limit 50 was because this series is mainly intended for people struggling at limits below No Limit 50. But you know, I guess, what the heck, you know, analyzing hands and opponents and situations as they come up will still benefit you even if the hand is at No Limit 50. Even if you're playing like No Limit 10. Just because, you know, you have to consider what makes a play a good play, you know, and I'm trying to explain that to you guys as the situations come up. So I guess that's why it's applicable even at lower stakes. And I've been tweaking my microphone settings because some of you guys have been telling me about the sound only coming out in one ear, so let me know if that's improved. And yeah, I guess that's it for the intro, guys. Let me just pause this real quick and then I'll go find some tables. Alright, so here we are back now with some tables. It took me quite a while actually. I'm just going to apologize in advance basically because my connection while setting up just these 4 tables have been pretty horrendous. It's been pretty tough to even open the tables. And I've been set out twice already, just basically because of losing connection. But what the hell, I need to get this video done. I need to show you guys what I'm up to, show you guys another live play video. So we're just going to power through it and just take it as it comes basically. I'm gonna lead out table 3 just because we do have a pair and it's a pretty dry board. I don't expect any of these guys to limp in with a strong king. And yes, basically just because we have the pair, we have some equity, we can hit a 2-pair, we can hit trips, and we can apply a lot of pressure. So I think that's fine. Gonna raise up the king 10 definitely over this fishy limper in the small blind. Raise up the ace-7 on table 3. Pretty good flop on table 2. Flop an overcard and a flush draw. We even have a backdoor straight draw as well. So this is all good. On table 3, I don't really know this guy. Not a great flop, but you know, just gonna fire once, see what happens. Check folding here is fine as well. It's easy to get into the habit of c-betting too much. Blind versus blind, and that's not a particularly good habit just because people are not prone to folding in those situations. Just because I guess it's well known that people open wide from the small blind, so people call wide from the big blind. So it's kind of the situations where nobody ever thinks the other guy has anything. So, and that's obviously not a situation where you want to be bluffing a whole lot. We do manage to hit our flush at table 2, so I'm just going to go all in. We managed to size it up so that there's less than a pot size bet left, and the fishy guy has ace deuce. There's basically nothing he can do at that point. He's never getting away from top 2, nor should he, in my opinion. So that's a great start. Too bad he left and he didn't reload, but you know, what can you do? Calling with the ace 10, or the 10-8, sorry, on table 3. I think that's pretty standard cutoff versus button. Fairly connected hand. Like in this situation, the important thing when you're calling preflop with hands like this is basically the spot situations where you can peel light. Just basically because we have position, we have a backdoor straight draw, we have a backdoor flush draw, we can definitely call here once. And you know, most of the time what's going to happen is that our opponent is just going to give up, like here on the turn, and we can either take a bluff now, or we can check and just bluff the river if he checks again. Or maybe the turn comes, you know, 1 club, a jack, a 10, a 7, you know, all these cards we can call once more. And then again we have a situation on the river where we can hit our draw, or most of the time our opponent's just going to check and we can take it away. Now in this situation, this kind of looks like he has a hand like 10s or 9s. If he had a hand like 10 jack, queen jack, like a flush draw, I'd expect him to bet it on the turn. So I'm not really afraid of giving him a great opportunity to bluff me out by checking the turn in that scenario, just because a lot of the hands I'd expect him to try and bluff with would have bet the turn, in my opinion. So that's my reasoning for choosing to check the turn and try and bluff the river if he checked again. Yeah, that's basically it. Opening up the 7-9, I think it's fine. Not a great flop for our hand. We do have a backdoor flush draw and straight draw, and that might be enough for me to bet here. I don't really know. Damn. So it just happened again, guys. I'm sorry about this. Hopefully it's not going to be for more than like a few seconds. I'll just pause the video now. And we're back. I am going to see it over here on table 3. It's kind of borderline, I think, so you know, it can go either way. On table 4 we got we raised pre-flop, and now we get let into. We have a gut shot and we have a backdoor flush draw, so I'm gonna peel once, definitely. And when we get raised here on table 3, it's an easy fold. I do have the auto rebound, yeah I do, great. And now on table 4 we pick up our flush draw, and we still have our gut shot, so now we're definitely gonna call again. And the queen with queen 10, blind was blind. I think this is strong enough to 3-bet. And on table 4 we get check to on the river. This is a spot where we definitely want to take a stab. We have absolutely nothing, so you know it makes sense to try and bluff to win the pot. I guess it makes sense to make it smaller here, because I don't really think he's folding a queen ever. So basically what we're trying to make him fold is like a misdraw, and we don't have to beg to make him fold a misdraw, so I could probably even go smaller than 4 in that scenario. Like the queen 10, when he 4-bets this small, it's kind of like a gross spot, you know, just because we get such great odds and we have a hand that can hit so much stuff. But on the other hand, I'm just afraid his range is so strong that it doesn't make a ton of sense to call and hit a queen, you know. But we're going to anyways, and we hit a dead flop for us, so this is a pretty easy scenario where we can just check, give up. And Same guy on table 4, he min-dunks this time. We could raise it up, but you know, we have position, we have 2 overcards, we have a backdoor flush draw, so no, just calling, seeing what's up. I think that's fine. As long as you're not going to fold easily on turns and rivers, I think it's fine to call there. And for some reason it's not auto posting up there. And now we hit a king. I think we'll just call again. Try and have him continue bluffing. If he is bluffing, I don't think he has a great hand a lot of the time, but you know, then again, raising this river when the ace hits, I don't think we're getting called by worse hands often, so you know, just calling at this point is going to be fine. And he had king 10, so his min dunks on the flop basically signals I have nothing, which is very common. And let's say I had a hand with less potential than the king 10, you know, I did have 2 overs, I did have a backdoor draw, so that's kind of a scenario where I do have some potential to hit. So you know, if you have a hand like ace deuce without any backdoor draws, you don't really have any potential, you don't have anything you can hit that can make a call again on the turn. So in those scenarios I like raising it up better. I hope you understand the difference there between those 2 hands. Just a second, I'm gonna have a sip of water. Water. It's a great thing. Always stay hydrated when you're playing. I remember reading it sometime that when you get dehydrated, your brain can't really think as well. Something along those lines. And just from personal experience, I guess I can, for me at least, that's the truth. When I'm not hydrated, I can't really think as well through situations. So whenever I'm playing now, I always have like a liter of water nearby. So before I start playing, I always bring out some water and just sip on it throughout the session. 7-8 here. I think we're just gonna min-raise this guy just because the stack is so small, and I don't want to put myself in a situation, you know, where I'm isolating to my usual size, like $2, and he shoves, and I'm getting a good price, but I don't want to call with 7-8, you know. I don't want to give him an easy opportunity to shove and make me fold. Same thing here with the c-bet. I don't really want to make it too big. It's easy for me to get it all in by the river if I want to, so I don't really have to make it large. And when he's check raising in this scenario, it's kind of gross, you know, because I don't think he has a whole lot often, but we don't either, so no, just gonna give it up. I can't really draw, even though I'm getting a great price. First of all, because my draw is pretty bad with the bottom half of the gut shot, and second of all, just because his stack is so small that if we do hit, we're not going to get any money, basically. So that's the reasons there. The king 8, I'm gonna min-raise again. The reason I'm min-raising is because his stack is so small, and same situation as before. I don't want to give him an easy shove where I'm gonna fold way too much. I'd rather just make my standards smaller and keep opening the same range instead of, you know, making my raises the same size but playing a tighter range. And I'm just gonna give up here on table 2. Kind of same scenario like on table 3 earlier with the monotone board, except this one is more coordinated. And on table 3, this is a pretty great spot. I have no idea what this guy's up to. His line makes no sense basically. But I'm just gonna shove and hope he calls me with, I don't know, a deuce, a 3, aces maybe. Aces would be funny, but yeah, he just folds. I don't know, maybe he has like a small pocket pair, like pocket 7s, you know, and he calls twice, and then on the river, you know, he doesn't really want to be facing a big bet, so he leads out himself. I don't know. It's kind of tough to figure out what some players are thinking during a hand, just basically because some of the logic doesn't really make a lot of sense to others than themselves. Yeah. If you guys have a great idea of what he had in that hand, just definitely comment below. I'd be happy to hear from you if you have any insights. I'm always willing to learn. The deuces on the bottom, table 3 is easy call against under the gun open. And I'm gonna call here as well with the 7s. And then at this point, you know, we have absolutely nothing. It's a 3-way pot, just gonna give it up. And we do hit a set with the 7s. Yay! Hitting sets. Getting paid, hopefully. That's what it's all about. I don't really want to just call here, you know, when he min bets, but I don't think he has a whole lot, and I don't really think this Epiphany guy has anything either when he checks. I'm gonna raise, even though I don't like it a whole lot. I'm still gonna raise. Kind of sad that the Epiphany guy didn't really want to play a pot, and I guess with my read that he mostly just has overs when he min bets. I could call that, considering I don't expect Epiphany to even be in the hand anymore. Yeah, I don't know. Call might be better in that situation. Then again, I only saw one hand where he min bet with nothing, so it's not like it's a solid read. It's just an indicator, but you know, it is what it is. Just have to flop more sets and maybe get aces or kings. That helps as well. When I started playing full ring back in the day, that was actually a thing, you know, just playing 12-9 or I don't know, 13-10, just trying to hit sets and go for what we used to call stack a dunk line, which would be bet the flop and check raise the turn. Worked like a charm, made me a lot of money back in the day. Yeah, that's basically what we would do, just flop top pairs, over pairs and sets and get paid. That was it. You're a winning poker player. It's not as easy anymore. I'm gonna raise here. Queen Jack is borderline. I could definitely fold this hand as well. King Jack I'd always raise, so it's kind of right on the border. Also because it's offsuit. The fact that hands are suited versus offsuited, it doesn't really matter in all in situations. Well, the difference is like 1 or 2%. It's basically negligible. I don't know that word. I'm just gonna pretend I never even tried to say that word. Just forget it. The difference is so small that it doesn't even matter. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But when you are in situations, I'm gonna check here. When you are in situations where you're gonna see flops, it means a lot more that you're suited versus off-suited. Just basically think of the 10-8 suited hand, where we called basically because we had a backdoor flush draw. You know, if you had 10-8 offsuit, I would have had to fold in that scenario. But basically, because of the suitedness, we could call one more street, which opens up a lot of scenarios where we can take it away on the turn, or make draws to hit later on in the hand. So yeah, being suited in post-flop situations is huge. And obviously when you're in 3-bet pots, the pots are gonna be bigger. So you know, being suited is even more important now. I'm gonna 3-bet the ace king. He did have ace king down here. I think we played it fine. I think after I check the flop, I basically have to call the river as well when he bets so small on the turn. Yeah, not really too much to say there. I guess I should note that he didn't 3-bet the ace king himself. But then again, he is kind of fishy, so I wouldn't really expect him to. And I would expect him to have quite a lot of aces in his range, but just the fact that there's 2 aces already on board and the fact that while he does have a lot of aces, he does have a lot of other stuff as well. And when I check, I kind of, induce from this huge range that is basically nothing. So for those reasons, I think it's fine to call again. And with the sixes, just gonna call the min bet. Don't really want to build a pot or anything in that scenario. We only have the 6, but we're getting 10 to 1 on the call. When we do have a small flush, I'm gonna call that every time. And the ace-3 here suited. Cut off against button, I think this is fine to call. Like calling is pretty much only something I advocate when you're button against cutoff. For anything else than pocket pairs. And even if you're playing higher than, the micro stakes, I wouldn't even recommend calling with pocket pairs in those scenarios, just because you would be too transparent. But cutoff against button, it's different. Just because there's fewer people behind you, there's fewer people who can wake up with monsters or who can squeeze you out of the pot, and you're always going to have position in those scenarios. And having position when you're calling, which is often going to be, suited aces, suited connectors, those types of hand, is just so big. You can't underestimate the power of having position when you're calling with those hands, and that's basically the reason. Well, another reason would be the fact that people are often opening wider on the cutoff, and to even start calling with hands like 10-8 suited or ace-3 suited, your opponent's range need to be wide enough. So let's say you're calling with ace-3 suited against a guy who's opening only top 10, top 12% from under the gun. His range is going to be so tight, so strong, that the plan of flopping middle bottom pair or a gutshot on a backdoor flush draw and trying to take it away is just not going to work, because he's going to have such a big hand so often that you're not going to be able to take it away often enough. So that's the reasoning we can kind of start calling when our opponent is in the cutoff at first, and then we get to the point about always being in position and why that is so big with hands like 5-6 or 10-8 or ace-3. And now in table 4, we flop the nuts. I'm just gonna bet it. Don't really see any reason to do anything else. And hopefully you flop the set or ace-5 or some type of hand, and he just wants to stack off, but I guess not. I don't really see any reason to get fancy at that point by trying to check raise or anything. If he has a hand like 8s or I don't really know if he's ever going to he's never going to call the check raise anyways. And I think, just betting we can rip more bluffs than we ever could check raising. And I'm just going to check he's 3-betting quite a bit from the small blind against the button. So I'm just going to forward this scenario with the ace-9. We do have a suited ace, which kind of reduces his combinations of aces, ace-king, ace-queen, which is hands, he would want to 5-bet get it in with. So we're basically reducing the combos that would continue against our 4-bet. And before I even did that, I checked that his stat for 3-betting against the button is 10%, and his 3-bet from the small blind is 11%, while his 3-bet from other positions are significantly lower. So that kind of signals to me that this type of guy has some idea in his mind, or has just a habit in his play that he wants to 3-bet more from the small blind than any other position, which leads me to believe that his range when he is 3-betting there is quite weak, because often when the 3-bet across other positions are very low, you're not facing a guy who's 3-betting king jack suited, king queen often enough. You're more than likely facing a guy who's just 3-betting ace queen through and jacks plus and ace queen plus, and then a lot of bluffs. So in that particular position, small blind against button, he just has way more bluffs than he has value hands. He's not saying to himself, okay, well, I'm 3-bet bluffing or I'm 3-betting like 12% in this scenario, how many good hands do I need to kind of balance out so that I don't really get run over by 4-bets? He's not thinking like that. He's just thinking, well, I 3-bet for value, jacks plus, ace queen plus, and this is a good bluff spot, so I'm just going to ramp it up in this scenario without any regard to balancing the fact that he has way more bluffs in this scenario. And for that reason, I think 4-betting guys like that is a great idea. And here against this guy on table 4, I'm just gonna raise it up again. No, I don't really see any reason to just call. We want to make this pot as big as possible, and when he's only limping in this scenario, I don't think he ever has 10, so I think, he has 10 deuce, or like a set of deuces, or a big draw would be my guess. And he has 10-6, so he does have the 2 pair, which is kind of expected. I didn't expect him to have the 10-6, just because we already have 2 6s. There's a 6 on board, so I didn't expect him to have that particular hand. But I definitely consider the 2 pair. And from my perspective, I don't really like getting it in there if I'm him. I could probably 4-bet this guy up there. I don't really like getting it in from his perspective against me, just because, or I guess against another regular, I'd say, just because I wouldn't expect a regular to get it in with like a bad 2 pair. So he's not really beating anything that I want to get it in with. Let's say you're playing against a fish, that's definitely different, You're a fishy guy might just have hit a single 10, or he might have slow played aces, or something along those lines. So against such a player, I'll be much more likely to just stick the money as soon as possible. But when you are in these scenarios, in these unraised pots against other regulars, you really need to be careful, because people kind of know not to stack offline in these scenarios. Okay, the 9's up here. This guy's 3-betting quite a bit, but we don't have any sample at all. I call the flop, I check the turn, and now he's betting the river quite big. Like, wouldn't he always bet like his aces, kings and queens again on the turn? I have absolutely no idea, and I guess if I did have a hand stronger than this, I'd always bet the turn. So I guess this is kind of like the top of my checking the turn range, and since I don't really know what to do, what to expect, I guess I'm gonna call it. And that kind of reasoning I just kind of laid out there is something that can be quite helpful when you don't really have any idea how your opponent's playing. I don't know if he's a random maniac who bet the flop, check the turn, bet the river with a ton of crap, like he definitely is. I don't know if I should just get it in here. I'm just gonna fold and get on with my. I'm just gonna fold and get on with my previous point. When you don't really know anything about your opponent, you don't know his tendencies, you don't know anything. You basically want to revert to your own play and try to make your own strategy as solid as possible, and try to make it so that if your opponent is a complete maniac. What's this now? I 3-bet pre-flop, right? And this guy decides to dunk into me on an ace-high board, which is very weird, into 2 people. I'm just gonna fold. Getting overwhelmed right now trying to explain that concept while playing still. So yeah, you don't know anything about your opponent. You have to kind of revert back to your own game plan and try to make that as solid as possible against a variety of players. And the way you do that is basically, let's say I folded the 9s there. In that case, my overall game plan would be folding way too much. Just because, since I don't know if he's ever bluffing it or if he's never bluffing, those are the 2 extremes. He's never bluffing the river in that scenario, or he's bluffing always. If I'm folding the best hand that I get to that spot with, I'm losing a ton against against the player who's bluffing a lot. And I'm basically doing slightly better against the guy who's never bluffing. But let's say I have a hand like, ace jack. That would probably be one of the hands at the bottom of my range for, calling a flop, checking the turn, and now getting to this river. In that case, using that logic, I don't know anything about him. I don't know his tendencies for betting the river, but since ace jack is at the bottom of my range for getting to the river and facing this bet, I'm just gonna fold that, and I'm just gonna call with the nines. So the top part of my range I'm gonna call, and the bottom part of my range I'm gonna fold. And this is kind of a situation where you don't really make yourself very vulnerable to any particular style of play. So let's say I decided to also call the ace jack. Now in this case, I'm doing slightly better against the guy who's betting the river all the time, but I'm doing way worse against the guy who never bluffs the river and only bets with the nuts. So I hope you can, from that example, kind of see what I mean and kind of understand the logic for calling the nines in that spot. Because I think it's a pretty important concept. It's a pretty important mindset to have when you're facing guys you don't really know anything about, because it's very easy to revert back to the kind of thinking that overall this player pool doesn't do X very often, so I'm going to do Y. I don't know. But using this mindset of starting with your own strategy, your own range, and trying to make that as solid as possible is a good exercise, I think. Phew, that was quite tough to explain. I don't even know if I managed to explain it well at all. I hope I did. If I didn't, please let me know in the comments, and I'd love to talk more about it with you guys and expand on what I kind of put up here. Definitely gonna call up here on table 2, and there definitely was some spots where I felt like I wasn't really able to think through the situations as well as I wanted to, but I guess that's kind of like, that kind of goes with the territory when you're trying to play and explain at the same time. And up here on table 2 we got it in on the turn with the straight, and hit the backdoor flush draw. No big deal. Definitely going to win there the vast majority of the time. Oh, we've already gone over 30 minutes. That's quite long. Time flies when you're having fun. And we get kings. I like having kings. It's a good hand. And I'm gonna 3-bet it. So 5.5. I'm gonna give up with the 2s on table 4, just because I don't expect him to fold a lot at all. And 2s, we basically have no equity. There's no card we can hit that would be good for our hand except another deuce, so we're just gonna give it up. Just gonna min raise here over the limber because he has a short stack, and here against this guy who decided to 4-bet, I'm just gonna get it in. His 4-bet is so big that I can't really realistically 5-bet and fold. So for that reason I don't really want to 5-bet, because I kind of think if he knows anything about 4-bet 5-bet math, he would know that I would never be able to fold after that 5-bet. So it's kind of pointless if he knows that stuff. I guess if he doesn't know that I could never profitably 5-bet and fold in that scenario, then I guess there is some merit to 5-betting, especially against the guys who are 4-betting more than they should be. And that's kind of thing I've been thinking about. It seems silly to me, but it's not. That doesn't mean that it seems silly to the people I'm basically trying to win money from. So I have to think more about that. But I think this is going to be it for this session, guys. I think it was a good one. Let me know what you think. If you like the video, please leave a like down below, guys. It just lets me know that you appreciate the work and you found it helpful. And if you know anyone who would benefit from a video like this, please share it with friends. And yeah, until next time, bye guys.